Mm-hmm.
Good morning. Welcome, and we'll stand for the pledge, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Again, welcome, and welcome to those online. We're going to start with the agenda confirmation. For some reason, I don't see open forum on here.
It's down past the consent
Oh,
agenda.
there it is. Way down here. It's usually in the first one. Any changes to the agenda?
I'm going to make a suggestion. I know we are at the end of the meeting. We're supposed to go into closed session, and it's as we all know, Pat has a job offer out there, and it's my understanding that we're supposed to likely hear by the end of the week about that job offer. So I would make a suggestion that we move his evaluation till we know what is going to happen with his job offer.
Well, the only reason he's got a job offer is because they've been trying to fire him here. So, that's the concern, Erica. I mean, the man likes his job, but if you think you're going to lose your job, if you're constantly in fear of losing your job, you eventually start looking for jobs. And so I happen to know he'd like to keep his job, but he's just afraid that he's going to get railroaded out of here. And that's the way it appears. So I'd say go ahead and do his evaluation and let's see what you think of him. I love him. I hope we get to keep him. He's very intelligent.
I kind of agree that we've had this scheduled. We were going to do it early in the year, and we postpone it to the end of the year like it's supposed to be. I think I'd suggest we keep it.
Yeah, let's just keep
move
moving
forward with it.
Okay.
We got this ball rolling. Let's keep her going.
Okay, any other comments? Okay,
Move to approve.
motion by John,
Second.
second by Richard. Any other discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, motion carries. Minutes of the December 12th meeting. Any corrections, additions?
I didn't have
I didn't have anything.
I
Nothing?
didn't have
I
anything.
didn't see
Okay.
anything.
Entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Motion by Dave. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, second by Erica. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. And the December 14th meeting.
Just one correction on the attendance. I was not there.
Yep, that was mine too.
I'll make a motion to approve the December 14th minutes.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, motion carries.
Excuse me.
Okay, we have the consent agenda with the regular claims, auditor warrants claims in over 90 days. Human services and claims, and a couple of contracts, and the FBI Headwaters agreement. Any questions? Wish to pull any of those or not?
Move to approve.
I'll second.
Motion by John, second by Dave. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, motion carries. Okay, open forum. So when you come up, if you just signed in and didn't mean to speak, you're not required to, but we have some names on here. And so when you come up, if you want to come up and speak, just state your name and address and come up to the table. So the first one is Tim.
Good morning, and thank you for allowing me to address the board.
Morning.
I'm just here to address the item on the agenda, which includes Mr. Ullman's
Can you state your
performance
name?
evaluation.
Can you state
Sorry.
your full name and address.
Tim Ransat from Osage Township, Park Rapids, Minnesota. Again, I'm here to address the upcoming topic of Mr. Ullman's evaluation. I believe from what I've looked at, the evidence I've been presented, Mr. Ullman has done a very good job for our county. And I think that we need to keep him in our employment. I think he's done a very professional job. And I would highly encourage the board to be professional in their evaluation of him, to allow no internal emotions to cloud that evaluation process. And I would encourage them to give him a very positive evaluation. I think it's in the best interest of our county to keep him in our employment for working for the taxpayers. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Rick Anderson.
Rick Anderson, 20677 County Highway 21, Detroit Lakes. Thanks for letting me address the board. I have two issues today. First, I'm here to stand up for Pat Ullman for these few of many reasons. He's been one of the best administrators we've ever had, even though those positions have had different titles. He's highly pursued by other counties, which must say something for his abilities. He cares about the taxpayers' dollars, spending them wisely, and he's intelligent. I have the equivalent education of a doctorate in finance. I know skills when I see them. We should be thankful he works here, and we need to keep him. Secondly, I believe Becker County's spending is getting out of hand. You are a part of pushing up local taxes so much that when combined with inflation, many people will not have any discretionary income left. My property taxes are going up 23.5%. My home value was pushed up 36.3% in 1 year, and that was with no improvements or anything. In reality, that means that Joan and I will go out one less time per month, so being that we're on a fixed income. Now multiply that times thousands of people. What does that mean to businesses that survive off discretionary income, like motels, hotels, restaurants, and bars? I think that they're going to get a haircut. The Atlanta Federal Reserve says that we're on the verge of a recession. The third quarter GDP was 5.9%. The fourth quarter projection is 2.6. That's less than half. So our economy is shrinking. The first and second quarters, they're saying, may shrink to an even negative position. So our economy in the nation as a whole is shrinking, and I would think the same applies to Becker County. That Becker County is piling on record high taxes while the U.S. economy is shrinking. Credit and debit card amounts are at record highs, 1.4 trillion in this nation, and going up. I don't think that the idea that the county should go back, I think you guys should go back to the drawing board or be responsible for businesses and people failing and suffering. The levy rate is proposed to go up over 11%. Our budget is like double digit. Inflation is supposedly at 3.1%, and you guys are going with an increase of nearly 4 times that amount. I really have an issue with that. So I'd like you to reconsider on approving this budget and go back to the drawing board. There is things that can be trimmed out of there. Thank you. and Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas to you too.
Jane?
Jane Hokinson, 19552 County Highway 25, Detroit Lakes. And I just want to say from the agenda, I read that our county administrator, Pat Oman, has been scheduled for a performance review today. Because of my regularly attending the commissioner meetings, I have firsthand observed Mr. Oman and can say that he is doing an excellent job for us here in Becker County. I have observed his close attention to details and his promptness to respond with accuracy to issues and questions that is presented to him, many times with no time to prepare. Mr. Oman has promptly responded to any question I have, and I feel that Mr. Oman is a definite asset to our county, and we are very fortunate to have him as our administrator. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jane.
Joe?
Joe Stinger, 18048 360th Avenue. And I'm here for the same reason. I agree with everything these people have saying about this. But I do think the rest of the board better figure out what you're going to do with the chair. The chair is the problem. The chair should not be allowed to go on to an employee's room and threaten them. And I called Erica the other night and asked her what she thought. Well, she said, you know, he's around applying for jobs. Well, why wouldn't he? He don't know where he stands one day to the next when you got somebody harassing him. And he's not the only one that Barry's harassed the employees. I seen a letter that Barry signed, and no, the rest of you, are you responsible for what he does or what? I think the rest of you better consider what you're going to do here. He's breaking the open meeting laws all the time. He's in telling Pat that he's got 3 votes. How does he know he's got 3 votes?
Please elaborate. When did this happen?
Huh?
When did this happen?
When this happened, this has been happening forever. I can get you 3 people that they told me that you said you had 3 votes. Now, who's lying here? Erica, are you lying because you said you didn't talk to him?
I'm not lying.
Okay. Are you calling him a liar then? Somebody's a liar here.
I'm not calling anybody a liar.
Well, somebody is a liar.
Chair, could I say something? I would ask the board just not to respond, let him speak, and then let him move on. Thank you.
So,
Well, I do find it a little unusual that you make accusations against me personally, and
well,
I mean,
okay.
there's not, I don't know what you're referring to when you say I go
You're going to
into.
know.
Okay,
After Christmas, you're going to get a nice Christmas present of all the stuff that I got proof that you've done. You're best off just resigning right now because it's not going to be pretty. And anybody going along with this guy's idea of getting rid of Pat or anything, I am going on the radio the next time you're running for office, and I'm going to tell the story. And here, what I hear, here you're down to an AMC meeting. As far as I'm concerned, you broke the old meeting law. You're in a bar talking about human services. That don't fly with me. I don't care if you're in a bar, but you don't talk about county business. Thank you.
all right. That concludes open forum. Anyone else have anything on open forum? All right, we are at reports and correspondence. I think we have the question was having representation. John, you wanted to bring something up on that?
The which?
On representation at the open meeting? Did you want to bring that up, or are we going to, at the closed meeting?
It's just a performance review. I don't know why we have to have a hand-picked attorney there.
Why didn't
Okay.
we have a board approval for her?
I would like to discuss that. That's why we're talking about it now. I would like to just have our labor attorney have a call in when we're having our,
You already done it, though. It's too late to ask us now. I already got an email with her response. Why are you reaching out to an attorney without board approval? You scold everybody else for it, and here you're doing it.
I
You know,
asked
you
our
don't
human,
have that power in this chair. You are confused of what that allows you to do.
we have
Oh,
a
there you go.
request today. I am requesting that we have Ann on the phone available to us to guide us through the meeting. I will make a motion to have Ann Gehring, our labor attorney for Becker County for over 20 years, to be available during the closed session.
Why do we need an attorney all of a sudden for a closed session?
I have a motion on the floor.
Why do you think we need one?
Point of order.
There should be some
Point of order,
discussion.
if we get a second, we'll have discussion. I've made the motion. If we get a second, we'll discuss it.
I'll make the second.
Okay, now we have a motion and a second. Motion is to hire a labor attorney if that's available via Teams meeting, it's not present, to be available for us for any questions during the closed session.
My question is, why didn't we hire our current labor attorney that's been working with us?
Well, we have
Used to.
we have two labor attorneys, so
Well, Ann used to.
And she's not our attorney anymore.
she still is working with us through arbitrations, and so she's one of our attorneys.
I don't know that we've ever as a board said she wasn't our attorney, and I don't know that we've ever as a board said the other place was our attorney.
Why do we need an attorney, Erica? What have we done wrong that we need an attorney here? We must
don't
be
know.
doing something wrong if we need an attorney. That's all I'm saying. It's just a review and we need an attorney.
We've had attorneys available.
Yeah,
another-
and you're the guy who's been doing the stuff wrong, so you want him. I don't want him. I don't need her. I like her. I don't have any use for her. We have our own attorneys. Actually, there's more attorneys involved than you guys know already. So, you know, yeah.
Anyway, any other discussion?
I don't think it's bad to have an attorney available if we need one. It doesn't matter to me who the labor attorney is, but I think it's not a bad plan in case we have a question that we can't answer.
It's pretty much a standard review of the administrator's position and his job.
Unless you guys are trying to run him out of here, I could see why you guys want an attorney. I don't need one.
Okay, any other questions? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
Nay.
Motion carries. Would you instruct Carrie to make sure Ann is available at that time? Mary, maybe you want to step in and Carrie? All right,
Commissioner, she would have heard you. She's online.
okay. Okay, moving on to reports and correspondence.
I had highway, that's all I had, and we talked about the roads at the TNT meeting, so.
Yeah, it was a short week, so one of my meetings was finance, and that's coming before us. The other one was Lakeland Mental Health. We're struggling financially there. They're hoping some quicker reporting for the cases was a little bit lapsed this month, so hopefully that will bring us back. But for year end, we are positive still. The last 3 months have been a difficult. Psychiatry is specifically struggling to make cash flow because of the turnover in psychiatry people that we've had. Hopefully that will start to maintain, and that's always been probably a negative. But this is coming to coming around, so hopefully we can meet budget, which is a break even in psychiatry, so. And that's about it. I think we had courthouse,
Hey,
but I
Court,
think
everything's
everything's
on the agenda.
on the agenda.
So John and I had a Recreation Advisory Committee meeting, and we talked about quite a few things, but just to highlight a few of them. So the trolls that Project 412 is going to put up around the county, they have all their spots set. There's going to be one at Dutton Locks, 2 at Detroit Mountain, 1 in the city park by the pavilion. There's going to be 1 at Wanigan Park. And I think is there going to be 1 at the Fingelson Farm? Is that what it was, Joe?
They're talking about it.
Talking about maybe there. And then, anyway, they're going to come next May 10th, and they're going to plan to spend a month to have them all put up. So that's kind of cool. Also at Dutton Locks, we talked about replacing the shelter. They're going to demolish the shelter and then put a new shelter up, but there's also they're checking to see if they can move dirt around a little bit because of the artifacts that were found underneath or close to where the shelter's at. So they're ready to do that though. And then another thing too that we talked about is the trail that we want to try to get through from Dutton Locks to WeFest, and the Partnership for Health. Patrick Hollister is going to look into seeing if they can help fund the study to possibly do that. Wanigan Park, Hank, what's Hank's last name? Ludke said they're hoping by the 22nd of December that they will be able to turn that over to the city of Frazee. He also said they have 49 camping spots, 30 RV sites, 10 tent sites, and 9 remote campsites. So, and then Erica and I had Human Services meeting. I believe everything's on the agenda, isn't it? Except for the fleet vehicle. I don't know.
I think that's under Pat's.
Is it under yours?
We had, if I could speak,
Yeah.
Nelson, we had it on the agenda before, and you assigned it to Human Services Committee. We're just bringing it back as part of the report.
Okay.
Brent will be here to give you an update and a recommendation.
Perfect.
And just to add to Human Services, we did discuss some system modernization stuff, which I had attended a workshop at AMC regarding that and whether or not they would be interested in doing some pilot once the systems, all of the systems in Human Services are, some of them are older than some of the workers, like they were created in 1980. So the state is looking at doing some system modernization. So we just discussed that and then just acknowledged that the day we were there was Tribal County Human Services Worker Day. So just acknowledged that for the workers. And then I also attended the Northwest Emergency Communications meeting for John, and there was a lot of discussion about grants and the process. They had applied for several grants, and there was, of course, a lot more grant money wanted than what was available. And there was one that we did not get. So just there was a lot of discussion about the grant approval process. But other than that, I did not have any other meetings.
John?
I had one that was with David Rack, and he covered that fairly well. So.
Okay. Any other correspondence reports? Appointments, Cormorant Watershed, I just received a resignation. It's in your packet. I think we should probably leave that open just for another meeting to see if there's any interest. You can throw it on our website that there is that opening. Then we should probably act on that next month.
Act on approving or?
I think we just leave it open and then act next month
Gotcha.
on making a recommendation. Okay, moving on. Pat?
Yeah, if with the board's permission, Brent, you could come up. We'd like to talk a little bit about replacing the vehicle that was totaled, damaged, and totaled a Human Services vehicle. So go ahead, Brent. Let us know what our options are.
Well, good morning. As you know, 2 weeks ago, we did give a list of vehicles that were available to the Human Service Committee. They picked one out, but it's gone. So that's what we're finding is these SUVs that would be comparable to replace this. They come and go. There's not many out there. Fleet vehicles are not even available at all, at least even probably next year. So the current, as of yesterday, I come up with 3 more that are available within town here. One's at Weber, one's at Nearson's. If you'd like to know the exact cost of them or what you'd like to do, whether they're available, if we decide on doing something today, I don't know. But
What costs are we,
so we're looking at, one's a Jeep Renegade Latitude. Again, these are all-wheel drive SUVs comparable to the Equinox that we had the claim service on. And this one's $25,534. It's at Weber right now. We do have another Chevy Equinox RS, $32,945 for that. And then there's a few up in Fargo. Again, cost of them is $30,175. That's available as of yesterday.
have you looked at the Subaru? I know they have a Subaru in town.
I have, and
Crosstech's
I-
usually under 30.
I thought, well, they're not. I actually looked at them. They start at like 36 for the
No, not the Crosstech.
Crosstech. So the ones that I looked on for R&G, the only ones that were available that I'd seen were like they're 36,000. I don't think they were the Crosstech though.
No, the Crosstech is their entry, and that's a all-wheel drive 5-person vehicle, and that I think that starts at 26, so.
Okay,
And you said that we've received the insurance from,
yes.
It's been told, we received the check, everything is ready to go. And I think the recommendation we would have is if we could get a certain dollar amount that would allow Brent to kind of hold something. And I don't think there's anything wrong with doing a quick email to the Human Services Committee, checking with the department head, but if you could make it just a quick communication to them, lock it down, because these just fly off the parking lot. But we would like to have a limit that we could spend.
Yeah, I think we had a lot of discussion about the Jeep.
Yeah.
And I think that the discussion that we had was when they have to transport children. I don't think that one was,
It wasn't, yeah, they.
Very-
Yeah, it's on the smaller side.
Yeah.
I think the one that they had originally picked out, the Trailblazer, was a little bit smaller, and that was acceptable. But again, yeah, I'm just trying to match it up with what we have. There are some, and I will say that they're in transit, could be available going down the road. Again, it's one of them that, for me to make to work a deal or something with any of it, I'd have to have an amount and something that I could maybe hold it in a short amount of time.
I think, what would you think, 30,000?
You know, I originally said 35, 30, I mean, if, again, the Crosstech, I didn't see them online
I think
the
you
other
can
day,
get
but
pretty good vehicles for under 30 if you start in that Trailblazer, Crosstech, and
Okay.
and that type of, I think
Yeah.
GM has one, and Ford has,
'Cause-
I think they have the Bronco Sport, but
Bron-
that's probably not the best, maybe that isn't, don't they have an Edge?
What was the
they
price?
do the Edges again. I looked at them. They're, the lowest price that I'd seen of one was like 38,000.
There's a Ford that has an entry level that's cheaper than 30.
If
Brent-
they have it on the lot.
Right.
A lot of times, these entry ones, they don't put on the lot because they want the ones with bells and whistles.
Do you remember what the Trailblazer that we approved, how much that was?
That was
28,
28,000.
and that was
yes.
a 2023.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, and again, after I got the email that you guys accepted that one, I went to check it, it was gone.
Yeah. But is it reasonable that we can find one under 30? Is that?
It's a tight window, but I know there was a Bronco Sport that was at 29,000. They didn't bring that up because of the size.
I don't think the Bronco Sports, it's a little bit, a little higher, and the fuel economy isn't quite as good as the Crosstech or the, I would lean on the committee to determine a dollar amount.
Okay. Should we try to pick a dollar amount and see what we can find?
Up to.
Up to, let's try that.
I mean, I think up to 35 would be appropriate, but if we can find one under 30.
30.
Yeah. that'd be
That
better.
would be preferred.
Mhm.
I mean, I know that it's hard to,
It
you know,
is.
to find them, and they do go so fast, so we do just need to come up with a dollar amount, and
I think,
That would be my-
I think 35 is a little high,
Yeah.
but certainly 31, 32.
Do we need a motion or?
Yeah.
I'll make a motion that we look for a fleet vehicle and we can spend up to $32,000.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, any other discussion? And this is to replace the
The one that hit a deer.
totaled out one.
Yeah.
All right, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye, opposed, motion carries.
Thanks. I'll work with Denise to
Yeah.
make sure whatever we come up with, it's appropriate for that. So,
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Brent.
I'll continue, Commissioner.
Thank you.
Next one is Resolution 1223-2A on Commissioner salaries. That's on page 38. If you look at the changes is we increase the commissioner salaries by 2.5%. That's in line with the original class and comp wage table, which was a 2.5% increase. The other change was in the increase in the regular commission meetings from 70 to 75. And then if the meeting is over 4 hours, that's been increased from 95 to 100. So those are the changes that we have. And of course, by resolution, we can allow the board chair and the chair to have an increase in salary, and that is, again, comparable to the previous year, along with that 2.5% increase.
Okay, entertain a motion to approve 1223-2A.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by John, second by Richard. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, motion carries. And 2B, the elected salary.
Yes, resolution 1223-2G is our elected department head salary. That's on page 39. We did do a negotiation with all three elected department heads with the elected committee, which is Commissioner Okeson and Commissioner Nelson. You see the increases that are there. That is their base salary. That does not include longevity pay. I should also indicate in 2A that does not include commissioner longevity pay, but I think you realize that. And so we would be looking for board approval on that. I would let you know that all three elected department heads participated in the class and comp study as well. So they were able to gather information about comparables. And so we're asking the board to consider the salaries as outlined.
Okay,
I'll make a motion to approve 1223-2B.
motion by Dave,
I'll second.
second by Erica. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, motion carries. And the meeting dates.
Yeah, resolution 1223-2G is on meeting dates. That starts on page 40 and goes to 42. I think the biggest change for December, which is a lot different than the previous couple years, is you will just have regular board meetings on the first and third Tuesday. This year, as you recall, the first week was the AMC conference. That AMC conference will be on the second week of December, so we'll be able to honor that first and third Tuesday. Everything else is no surprises. I think there's one finance committee that'll have to be moved to Friday because Monday's a holiday, but other than that, it's pretty straightforward on the dates.
Move to approve 2G.
Second.
Motion by John, second by Richard. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries.
I'll continue, Commissioner Nelson, coroner update. So the Finance Committee actually did meet with a candidate, and we provided that individual with a preliminary contract, but they need to take that to their employer. What my recommendation would be is we would have that on the special board meeting on the 22nd with board approval, and hopefully we will hear back from the coroner. As you know, we already have a relationship with the medical examiner, so that could continue if we need to. But I think our goal here is to start this January of 2024. And again, it's preliminary, but I don't think there's anything wrong with saying the individual's name. Nicole Strand, who's a medical doctor with Essentia, met with the Finance Committee, and there are some rules in working another job at Essentia, so she has to go through some steps. But I think we feel confident that she'll come on board, and the sheriff is very supportive of the hire as well for 2024. We don't see a change in the salary from the previous quarter, so it'll stay in line with our budgets. So really nothing to report except that you'll be reviewing it on the 22nd.
Okay.
And then CHIPS contracts as well. So we did, I have 4 candidates for 3 slots. We did get input from our judges, and they were kind enough to respond. Right now, where we're at is we've communicated with the candidates, but where we're at the discussion phase is in the salary. So these previous contracts were 4-year contracts, and there has been a communication if there could be a slight bump to the salaries for the CHIPS, and I'm doing that communication, but I will bring it back to Finance Committee and the board once that's finalized. And we are updating the existing contract as well. The county attorney provided us a new contract that we can use. So again, what I'd like to do is bring that to you to the special board meeting on the 22nd. And for that to start January 1, because January 2, January 1's a holiday. So we don't see an issue waiting till the 22nd, but that's where that's at.
You want to bring that back in December then? or-
Yeah, well, if there's going to be a special board meeting, I think that would be the issue. We just have to make it part of that posted agenda 3 days prior. And the hope is we'll have all that information done.
What time are we? My understanding was that meeting was just to discuss the class and comm study.
Yeah.
With the consultant, which I think was 10:30 was when she could. So is our plan, will it be posted to meet prior to that?
Yeah, so the 3 days
business
prior,
and things
yeah,
like that?
you'll have to count, you can count Wednesday. We won't count today, of course, but you can count Wednesday, Thursday, the day of the board meeting. Those are your 3 days. So it would count. Yeah, so you could do that.
Is everyone going to be available? Rich, is everyone
I haven't
coming?
heard.
Or are we going to have that as a board meeting or not?
Or, what's the difference between, I mean, weren't we going to was it going to be a work session or what's the
Well,
difference?
my understanding is I thought you guys were going to have it as a board meeting so you could approve some things with the class and comp, but if I got that wrong.
Are these things needed to be in?
No, you can also wait. Thank you for bringing that up. The organizational meeting is on the 2nd. You could wait for both of them for the organizational meeting if you like. That's perfectly fine. And that doesn't inhibit any of the services that they provide since the January 1st is a holiday.
So you haven't advertised for the board meeting as of now?
No, we can advertise, we'll advertise, if you recall, we have to advertise for the annual business meeting component of that board meeting. By statute, it's already set, Minnesota state statute. So, but no, I've worked with Mary about doing the advertisement. We won't need to advertise essentially the agenda items of the regular business.
No, I'm talking
meeting.
about December 22nd.
Oh, no, we haven't done that either. Yeah, we'd have to post it 3 days prior, and that would have to go out on the bulletin board and on our website. But either way, do you have an opinion?
Well, I think we leave as much as possible to a regular meetings. I don't know
Fair
if we
enough.
want to add to short-term meetings, any business.
I think it makes sense as long as it can wait until the
Yeah,
2nd.
and it can, and it does give us more time to work through the contracts and things like that. So that's what we'll do.
And the same with the coroner.
Yep. Good. All right, that's all I have. Sure.
CHIPS update?
We just did.
I just discussed that.
Did you want to, we don't need to elaborate on there was 4 candidates rather than, so we reviewed all 4 and not,
Right.
we decided to move forward with 3.
The reason I'm holding out for the names is because there has been a discussion from some on their salary, and it may affect their willingness to be a CHIPS attorney, so I thought I would hold off on that.
Okay. Mary?
And if I could, Commissioner Nelson, Mary, we did hand out a packet that combines everything on the levy and the administrative rules. So it is in your guys' board packet, but it was intermingled in some of the sheets. So we gave you an additional packet that had everything on it.
Okay, we have no licenses today. The first item I have is Resolution 1223-2C, the 2024 certified levy. Included with that resolution were 3 exhibits. Exhibit A, administrative rules. Exhibit B, position allocation by department. And Exhibit C, 2024 budget by department. I'm requesting a motion to approve.
I'll make that motion.
All right, we have a motion. I'm trying to still find, do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, could you just restate Should we state that I was busy finding where I am?
Commissioner Nelson?
Okay, yes. As a part of Resolution 1223 2C,
There we go.
we have 3 exhibits: the administrative rules, the position allocation by department, and the budgets by department.
Okay, I'm on board now. I know we had a couple questions at the Truth and Taxation meeting, and I know, did you have a response to that? And Pat, I think you were going to reference a question by Larry.
Yeah, Commissioner Knutson had a couple questions. Did we communicate with Commissioner Knutson directly on what the responses were? I know you and Nicole had to research that.
Right. Well, we did provide the tax capacities because he was looking for the comparison from last year to this year. Basically, the resolution in front of you is no change in the percent since we set the preliminary levy in September. There's always new construction, but the values, of course, across the county have gone up. I don't know specifically, other than I provided the information that he requested.
Okay. Any questions? Okay, we have a motion and a second.
And who was the second?
John.
John's the second, yeah.
And if I may, Commissioner, also just to mention under the administrative rules, the one change that was made is because the board did approve allowing the administrator to purchase at a higher amount from 3,000 to 5,000. That changes in the administrative rules.
Yeah, and we noted that in finance that the change was from 3 to 5 for in the administrative rules. Any other discussion? Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
The second item I have is Resolution 1223 2D. This is a tax forfeited land easement request across parcel 317009.
Move 2D.
Okay, motion by John, second by Richard. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And this is the non-exclusive easement.
The final thing I have is Resolution 1223 1F to purchase a postage machine and folder. The current equipment that we're using is from 2016. It is 7 years old, and we are starting to have issues with it. This is a budgeted item.
All right, this went through.
You went through the court on it. I'll make a motion to approve 2F.
Motion by Dave,
I'll second.
second by Erica. Any other discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. We are ahead of schedule. So, yes, sir.
If anybody's interested in those numbers that I got from Mary, the new construction was about 82 million, and the tax capacity, taxable market value went up about 1.2 billion.
1.2 billion, yes, and construction has not seemed to slow down around. And it's not small houses going up and around the lakes area. So, are we want to take a break?
Well, I'll leave that up to you, Commissioner. I just sent a text to Cody, and he's usually listening in, but he's up next, and probably because we are so early, maybe he's not here, but Peggy's going to go get him. And if you'd like to do that first, you could take a break, but if we can't run him down, we can take a break early and come back to the EDU.
We certainly can take a few minutes off if we want, or do you want to wait? Wish the board?
Should we wait for Peggy to see if she found him, or?
She was on the phone.
Okay. Is he coming?
I told him we were ready.
Yeah, like now. Yeah, yeah. That'd be an important phone call. There you go.
Good morning.
Morning.
Morning, Cody.
Morning, Cody.
Sorry about that. I was on a phone call, just turned off my monitor for a brief moment, and you're ahead of.
We're way ahead of schedule.
Yeah, so just wanted to kind of update you a little bit, kind of on the status of the Becker County EDA and what we've been up to. Do have just a couple of things to point out right away. This was brought to me yesterday, but we have 2 terms that are expiring in 2023. One would be District 1, so that'd be Commissioner Jepson's district, and then District 5, which would be Commissioner Nelson's district. So I'd be looking at appointments coming up for those 2 districts. Just wanted to make you aware.
Was there anything that, like a term limit?
There's not a term limit, but they're, excuse me, 6-year terms.
Okay.
So the next ones I think are in 2025, but yeah, we've had, we don't have a term limit for those
Okay.
positions. And then the Family Child Care Startup Grant that was done through the county has now wrapped up. The final recipients have submitted all their stuff and payments have been made out. So we have kind of the grant details from that process, but the county allocated $102,000 for assistance to new and expanding providers. Of that, 2 special projects were allocated in higher amounts, one of them being for assistance to establish the Early Child Care Development Foundation. And then another project with Ecumen, which was a larger project. So the remaining amounts were, granted out in award amounts up to $10,000. So the demand from applicants, fulfilled that amount. So there was ultimately 6 recipients for the grant. Of that, 1 provider had moved out of the area, so there was a clawback provision, and they didn't receive much of their grant. But overall, 5 total recipients from that grant, and there was about a 70% usage of the funds. So not all of the requested amounts were actually used by those recipients. So there was kind of a remaining, total committed amount from the original amount that we've been approached about, about ideas about potentially further asks and what to do with the original, or to match the original amount. But that could be something that would be approached to you in the future. So the other big thing was, like I said, the 1 project, there was some setbacks with one of the larger projects at the Ecumen deal. So that's kind of why the 70% committed amount would be lower than expected maybe. And the Early Child Care Development Foundation, that was the county made a commitment of $35,000 to that foundation to help establish that. And through that, I believe you received a kind of a grant update from them maybe a couple months ago, but their foundation has since established and provided assistance to child care providers for growth and retention by providing 21 smaller grants that have benefited over 220 children in the county. So it's kind of just a commitment to that grant and the success and the demand for it. So that's wrapped up now, and we continue to work with them on future asks and sit on the Early Child Care Initiative Committee and stay updated on all things child care in the county and the needs for that. So, and then I guess just kind of update you what we've been doing. The EDA has been engaged in collaborative efforts to address concerns and challenges faced in the community. So primary efforts have been carried out in 4 major categories. We've been focused on outreach and education, business development, our housing, which is both public and private sector, and policy and legislative avenues. Regarding the legislative asks that was brought up at your last commissioner meeting, I intended to be here, but I was out, so I could have spoke to that a little bit. But yeah, we have engaged and interacted with a handful of state legislators. So we have a program here that's been in place at the county. It's MRL, it's Minnesota Urban and Rural Homesteading. throughout the course of history, that was started, it provided assistance to help purchase and remodel somewhere around 17 homes. And as they've been bought or sold off, the money that's came back in, we have a balance sitting out there right now and somewhere to the tune of around $900,000 that's in that account. So what we've been doing is we've been asking to access that money because it's already out there and it's not new money that would be asked for. So to continue to rehabilitate and provide housing assistance. But of course, we're being told that has to go back to the state and we, in the policy or the administrative manual in section 4, there's a provision about creating a revolving loan fund. So we kind of wanted to approach that same avenue, but we've been denied those opportunities. So that's what we've been engaging with some of our local representatives and senators, just educating them on the issue because it's something that was in place before they might have taken office, and then just asking them to support it and be a voice for it, and then hopefully get access to it is the ultimate goal. But so in focusing on these core areas, we've identified needs based on the available data, building stronger understanding of goals and directions for the EDA. And we wanted to know what is available for funding and how programs or policies can be utilized to incentivize development within the county. So to do so, we initiated continuous outreach efforts with cities around the county, organizations, businesses, lenders, educators. We've enrolled and participated in 2 professional organizations that have provided extensive support, networking, educational opportunities. One of those is MAPSED, which is the Minnesota Association of Professional County Economic Developers. That's an affiliate with AMC. So it's structured similarly in terms of support, but it's a voting-based organization and provides relevant opportunities from around the state, from the county's perspectives, informational sessions, spotlighted businesses, community leader engagement, and education or advocacy on legislative changes. The other is Economic Development Association of Minnesota, which is another professional organization supported with curriculum from the International Development Council. So I've attended training and education sessions through them. But aside from the education, this organization provides valuable networking opportunities with state and regional organizations, as well as keynote speakers and leaders in development. So ultimately, these opportunities, is just about connecting our county across the state, collaborating on issues that everyone is facing, and providing direction to our board. Through that, we've been able to shed light on new ideas and insight and current challenges that we are facing, and recruiting some individuals as well to present and discuss successful projects. We've brought in some people here to the county to present to the board, talk about relevant projects that we're discussing and how they went through them and overcame some of the challenges from a funding perspective or just an overall development perspective. Business development. We've been engaged in 7 or 8 business projects. They're at anywhere from various phases, received requests for technical assistance, resource information, site selections, but the number one request has been funding. So that's kind of a primary concern that we've had at the EDA level, is creating funding that would be available for opportunities like gap financing and that sort of thing. So we've prepared to apply for funding sources like an IRP loan, which would be an intermediary relending program. But a lot of these loans require certain amounts to be allotted in a time frame, or they're kind of project-based. So we're trying to align a project with those applications as well. But that's been the number one request that we've had from businesses is additional financing to help fulfill their project needs. Out of those 7 or 8 businesses, one is coming to Becker County or committed to coming to Becker County. So it sounds like there's movement on that front.
What type of business?
Well, it's it's in the stages of acquiring land and that sort of thing. So, it's a.
Is it retail or
It'd be,
construction? I mean, what type?
it'd be retail sales for equipment type of business. So, don't want to give.
No, I
details
just
out,
want,
but yeah.
retail is just, I was just curious
Yep.
on what type of business and how many
So-
employees it would attract.
Sure. Yep. And it's still early stages. So, there's opportunities, for further discussion with them, that they might be, asking for something like a tax abatement or other county technical assistance. So, we'll see as that comes, but some of the other projects are housing projects, or housing developments, I should say. Manufacturing has been one that has been approached. So it's been a diverse group of requests or types of businesses, but we continue to work with them, just trying to assist them in any way possible, and also create opportunities moving forward so that we have more to offer from a county level in terms of assistance. But another area that's been a major focus is obviously our housing. Everywhere you've been to or whoever you've talked to had identified concerns for housing. This is in all aspects of availability and affordability. So in the process, we've been trying to identify developers, having discussing potential projects and sites with some of our local communities, engaged with them, and we've gotten positive feedback and willing partners. So we continue to work towards housing development. But another area is the funding, and the county is set to receive 2 forms of state aid for 2023 and 2024, which you might be aware of. One is for homeless prevention, and the other is for affordable housing. Over the course of 2 installments, it's a pretty significant amount. It's to the tune of $687,000 between both programs in 2 years. But these could be, used to make real impacts on some of these issues. So we've been engaging people, discussing, ways that we could utilize that funding to assist with programs that are maybe already currently in place, assist with development for private developers or a project of our own. But we continue to work on that moving forward too. We've also, we provide public housing here at the county, so that's a big portion of what we do. But the Becker County provides rent-assisted housing, management of Section 8 vouchers, and public housing rentals. So we currently have a service contracted out to a vendor, and that contract is nearing the end of its last year. So we are currently working on renewing or getting a new contract with them. But to start preparing for this, both possibilities of a new contract or no contract, we wanted to go through a professional process. So we did put out an RFQ for our housing management services. We received some responses and feedback, and ultimately we ended up selecting our current vendor and have been negotiating a contract with them. But just wanted to make the board aware that we do not have a contract at this time. And that's kind of based on a large increase from our prior years. Our prior contract is a 4-year contract, and it went up about 5% a year. And that was the terms of the contract that we did have. But the new proposal is looking to take a pretty significant jump. So in trying to prepare for that, we accounted for some of that in our budget process. But right now, the the current increase would be putting us in a situation where we'd probably have to be spending from reserves based on the current proposal. So we're finalizing a decision on that in negotiations, and we'll probably be bringing something hopefully to you at your next commissioner meeting for approval. We've also added the county as a signatory on that contract, just for your support. But those are some of the areas that we've been focused on over the last couple months, and yeah, we're just continue to look at all things funding and all things development, and continue to work on projects. So,
All right, any questions?
Thanks, Cody.
thank you. Happy holidays, since we're only a week away.
Yeah,
It's
Merry Christmas.
hard to believe, but.
All right, it's 9:15. Let's take how long a break do we want? I don't see anything on the agenda that's time commitment that we have, so we can start moving on the agenda. 5-minute break?
Works.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, but our, because we go on the June 30th is the end of our fiscal year.
Yeah, we do, so, well, I don't, so at the school, we go June 30th also, but there's some things that don't go June 30th, you know. Like, this is the first time our insurance started in June 30th. It used to be, it used to be all the way. It used to be at the end of the year. But now it goes to the.
Oh, now that we got closed the house. That's weird.
I think so. I think they changed. I don't use that. Or have. And then.
Switch, I'm sorry.
Oh, sorry.
Everyone ready? All right, we're going to get back in session here and finish up our business. So if you can conclude your talking or take it out in the hall, we'll move on to Carrie.
Good morning. I have three items for consideration or discussion. The first is the mandate that we have as a county to implement the policy for earned sick and safe leave. I brought this before the board one other time, and as time has went on, we've learned more information, and I participated in several training sessions across the state with attorneys and other training sessions. So we're learning as we go. So in front of you, you have a modified version of what previously we had reviewed. It's, I believe you have colored red and green. So the green is what we've discussed before. Red is what I've implemented. So the highlights of this, I just really expanded upon this for purpose and the requirements and tracking that is required of us as well. Probably the biggest question that I have for the board is really our mandate is the 48 hours that's allowable for all the purposes that are outlined in here. But really, again, it's not consistent across the state of how entities are implementing this. So really the main question that I have for the board is really what you want to attach this 48 hours to, whether you want to have that attached to our vacation accrual already and the sick leave, or just the sick leave.
So specifically where we need to figure out is the safe leave, because we already, our sick leave is already compliant, right?
We are already compliant with the exception of our temp and part-time employees. Our accruals may not meet the threshold, the requirements of this.
Okay.
So with that said, we do have that worked out as far as accrual. So they'll be seeing specific hours accruing for every 30 that they work.
Okay.
So that we're in compliance with this. So this really isn't a separate bank for our current employees that are already accruing at an acceptable rate. I mean, really what legal is really saying on this, that any first 48 hours of the year an employee takes, whether it be vacation or sick leave, that can be counted against the mandate that we have to allow them for this purpose. So with that said, you can attach it such as that, and that would meet the threshold. Or you can just say for the first 48 hours of sick leave that a person is taking for whatever reason, that it would meet this threshold as well.
That they're taking or that they're
Earning,
Accruing,
sorry.
okay.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
It's available to them. That
That made-
doesn't
that made
necessarily,
me- I
yeah,
was like,
sorry, I was using the wrong words. But
Nope,
yes,
okay.
it's available for them to take.
And for us, it's not, even if they use vacation, it's not that they're depleting their sick time. It's just that this is how we're accounting it, correct?
If you so choose
If you
to attach
choose
it
that
to the
way.
vacation, yes.
So it's,
And-
it's a little confusing when you discuss it because you're thinking, it's just in the reporting part of it that we're saying that it would take it from vacation, during the vacation time. It's not the actual hours of,
So even the part-time, when you consider the vacation that they get and the sick leave that they get, we're still not compliant with the number of
The
hours?
part-time people where we may run into issues that we're not in compliance with the accruals, like those temp
The temp
employees.
people.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. Because for every 30 hours that they work, they are, we're to give them an hour of this type of leave.
Okay.
so so you want approval and you want which direction which.
Correct. Correct.
And
And again, I can tell you that as I've talked and I've been on many and asking the question, there's some counties and entities that have, a pool of PTO versus separate sick and vacation. And people are doing it differently. It's just really the wishes of the board of how you'd like this attached so that we're in compliance.
And I think you stated too that every county is doing things differently. So I think whichever way we go, we'll probably be back modifying as
We may.
we learn the processes here on what works and what doesn't. So, anyone have any strong feelings one way or the other, or
I don't.
I looked at it and I don't know if it matters.
Carrie, do you have a strong opinion one way or the other?
I don't, to be honest.
Yeah.
I would say, if I were to lean, I would say probably it really should maybe be tied to the sick leave, just because I don't know that it's fair to employees to attach it. Like, for instance, if somebody takes a vacation in January and then they have a crisis of some sort. I mean, that's what I would say.
Okay, I was thinking that same line a little bit. If I was going to lean one way, it would be sick time.
And that's what I would say. I would lean that direction.
It might be a
As
little
long
bit.
as this, if we're just looking at the accumulation of sick time, we're in compliance.
Correct.
Yeah.
Even with part-time people.
Yes, and if we're not, then we'll make sure that we are. We also are mandated on earning statements to reflect how much is accruing for this specifically. So that's been a work in progress with our new UKG as well, because, specifically with those temp employees, you have to show that accrual and how they're accruing this particular time, because they normally would not accrue any time. So we have to, that's.
So then they would only accrue sick and safe leave. They wouldn't, temp employees.
Correct.
Would not accrue.
Yes,
vacation.
so at this point, what we're looking at doing is for every hour that a temp person works, that they get a certain percentage of that hour. So it's like 0.0, I don't know the math, 0.1, something like that per hour, so that it's accruing that seemed to be the most reasonable way to do it
Okay.
with our system.
Do you need a motion?
I do.
To approve the sick and safe with
Attach it to the sick?
with attaching it to the sick time.
Yeah,
I'll make that
whichever.
motion.
Okay.
We have a motion?
I'll second that.
And a second.
If I may, just one more thing.
Yes.
Also, in the packet, you also had the notice that we're mandated to send out. That was just for your reference. I just used the Department of Labor and modified it for our needs, but I just wanted to reference that because that does go.
That's Minnesota Department of Labor
Yes,
and Industry. Okay.
notice, and I'll send that out to all employees because we are mandated to do that as well.
Okay, so we have a motion, a second, to approve the earned sick and safe leave, the policy as in our packet, with the attachment to the sick leave. Okay, any other discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries.
The next item, I just for discussion, just wanted to bring to the board and just to get some feedback. With our accrual of vacation time, our current policy indicates that it's the accrual rate is 224, or employees lose that at the end of the year if they're not using it. And I know at courthouse committee, we did have some brief discussion with regards to that. So I'm just really looking for some direction or feedback from the board if that's something that we want to take a look at. You know, a couple of options we could look at is doing some benchmarking of other counties to see what type of caps they have on vacation, or any other ideas the board has. Because 224 is kind of an odd, I don't know.
Through our
where that-
courthouse committee, though, we did recommend there's four that are requesting this year
5, I think there was
Requesting to carry over.
to carry over.
Carry over, yeah.
I think our courthouse committee recommended to approve those this year, and then move forward with trying to reduce those or eliminate those for the next year again. So,
Well, if I could add something, Commissioner Nelson, as the policy states right now, we've had agreements with those 4 applicants. And basically the language is from the previous year, there was a carryover issue. And they agreed to address that this year, and if they didn't, they would lose that vacation. So I'll be very clear with you, is my only role here is to deny that, but I think I'd like to hear from the board in a resolution of what the committee has recommended. So that way those individuals then can have that carryover, because right now the agreement has it denied, and they agreed to that when they signed that, but you can overrule that with your motion. That's not an issue. So I guess I would ask the board to entertain that.
I guess we weren't provided that information at the committee level.
Well, no, you weren't, because we were in process with that, with reviewing those. And, but like I said, the board has that ability. And there is other options as well. I think what our HR director is indicating is you could certainly do a one-time cash out option. There's a lot of other options. And then future policy decisions that you could make. But right now, there are individuals that are going to be denied per the agreement that they signed.
And denied because they had carryover last year
Yep.
and didn't take the vacation.
Yep.
As
though
agreed
they were-
upon.
Oh,
That's correct.
And they agreed that this would get addressed and
Yep.
wouldn't happen again. And so.
And when we make whomever makes those agreements, is it with the employee and the supervisor?
I can, when this came to the forefront the year prior, there was a lot of people with a lot of vacations. So really what I was asking is, we'll agree to allow carryover into the next year, but tell me what your plan is to get this down and under the cap, and understand that you need to follow this agreement or you'll lose the vacation the following year. So that's, so we had 5 people, from my knowledge, we had 5 people that requested carryover. 4 of the 5 had prior agreements that weren't met.
Well, and the years, I mean, especially you look at in the highway department, what last year was and carried over late, it's a long year. And of course, in the summertime in highway, you actually have more work. And if you look at our workload, we've had considerable amount of jobs moving forward. I mean, with the smart monies, we have more work in the summer than we used to have too. I think we weren't aware at committee that there was any type of agreement. We never got to review that either. Would have liked to, because we did recommend to allow it this year and recommend the same type of language to move forward for next year to work on that. But there's always certain cases where you have short-staffed in a office that you can't. If you're short 2 people and you can't get vacation, you can't get vacation in a timely way. So in our today's workforce, I think we should, just like our committee originally approve that this year and the carryover, and work with those employees. And maybe we look at this policy, because I think 226 is an odd number, but we discussed other options, and I think that's a much larger conversation if we step outside that box about any payout or anything like that. That's a significant change, and I wouldn't want to entertain that today. So that's my opinion. So.
Well, can I say something, Commissioner Nelson? I think having only 5 requests, that's a fairly small number in my opinion. I don't know how that bears with the history. So I do think people are making the effort, and I think the existing applicants are making the effort. But again, things happen, and I think you echoed the highway department as well. So if the board is supportive of that, then let's put that in a motion, and then we can review a policy update in the future.
Okay,
I'll make a motion to allow the 5 applicants to carry over this year, but to make sure they have a plan to use them so they don't have to carry over. And then we will review policy to come up with a plan by sometime next year. Is that a really bad motion?
I'll second, but I would ask that I don't think we need to make
Yeah.
it part of the motion that we're going to review the plan. I would just like to stick it to that one thing and I mean, and their effort to minimize for.
I will take that part out of the motion.
Okay.
If I may, just for clarity, I know we have 5, but now as we're discussing this, if there's additional applicants, what would you like done with that?
What's the policy say?
The policy says 224 carryover, you lose the vacation.
And we're in
But
the,
isn't there a policy that
Or
it can
you
go to
can,
the department
or
head to request?
it goes to the department head, and then the final stop for decision is the administrator.
Is there a date on when that has to be appealed to the department head or no?
I don't know that there is. It's pretty generic.
I mean,
we were just following the process. That's how we got to where we are.
I would,
have we sent did we send an email out to employees to say, check your vacation, end of the year's coming? Like, do you know what I mean? Like, has there been any communication to employees of this is happening? They should know, but.
Right, so I think you're already, yeah, no.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
I would say that any of them can still get department review and permission if that's the case. I would say if they've done it before, then they'd have probably been in front of it. If they've asked for extension before, I think that's Pat's point, that they've been asked, those have asked for extension before, so they had to go to the next step. Is that correct?
That is correct.
So if they haven't been to that level, then the department head can still approve it, correct?
Yeah, it goes through the department head and then and then my only role is to push it to Pat and then. Yeah,
and that's all of them, or only if they had a previous agreement?
4 of them are.
But
do they all go to Pat, or do they?
Per policy, Pat is the final decider. Okay. Yes.
Well, then maybe just recommend approval of all that. I mean, if you need that in there to have clarity.
Yeah, I'm sure, because we don't have any other board meetings left. So yeah, I think if you would like to do that, that's fine.
Is that all right with the?
Yes.
Does the policy say to request by the end of the year? Like that, does the policy say when they need to put the request in?
It's generic, and I don't know that there's a specific date, like by this point, that you have to have it in. But, people want to know sooner than later.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carry.
So the last item I have is just a summary of employee benefits going forward to 2024 of what Becker County offers. So I have modified this to include the new insurance carrier Medica. The question that I have for the board, we have contracts that indicate that if there's a certain specific plan that's offered to employees and it drops below 10 participants through payroll deduction, that we no longer offer that. We have cleaned up some of that. We have cleaned up per the contracts, anybody that was under contract where that was the case, where we have no longer, and I've notified those individuals going forward in 2024 that we will no longer offer a few of those benefits where there was only 1 or 2 people getting those. But I would like our policy also to mimic that same language, that if there are people that are not a part of a bargaining unit where they are receiving payroll deduction for certain benefits and it's dropped below that threshold of 10, that we no longer offer that through the payroll deduction.
I think that's appropriate. Yep.
Okay. And I would like a motion for that.
I'll make a motion to include that in the benefits. Include if participation drops below 10, it'll be eliminated.
Okay. As written?
As written, yep.
Okay. Is there a second?
I'll second, but I just have one question.
Okay.
So are we talking about Are we talking about things that they want to have deducted, or are we talking about?
We're
things that
talking
we
about
provide?
voluntary, not
Okay.
what we're
Okay.
providing, no, absolutely
Okay.
not. We're
Okay.
talking about voluntary benefits.
All right, that's my question.
And they have other options to do
Yeah,
that.
they do.
They certainly could do it through their checking account or whatever, yes. They just wouldn't have the option through payroll.
Okay. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, motion carries.
That's all I have. Thank you.
Thanks, Jerry.
Thanks, Carrie.
Jim?
Morning, Commissioners.
Morning, Jim.
Few items for your consideration from Highway. This past Thursday, we had a public hearing for the 5-year plan and the sales tax smart projects to review those. We received a few comments from people, and anyways, we're looking to reaffirm the sales tax another year. The projects we identified are on County Road 34, the grading project, which is a carryover from this year as well. That project started this fall. The other project is on County Road 44, where we're reclaiming and widening the paved shoulders. We did widen that road a few years back anyway. And then the last project is the Osage public or out shop, paving that parking area and driveway entering that facility. Looking for approval of resolution 2H.
2H.
Second.
Motion by John, second by Richard. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, motion carries.
Next item is acceptance of the 5-year plan. We've identified our projects for the next 5 years. Those most important are next year, and then the following years we begin work doing surveys and right-of-way acquisitions and things like that, but looking for approval of resolution 2I to accept the 5-year plan.
Go ahead, Richard.
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Richard, second by John. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries.
Final resolution for your approval is adoption of a resolution to support a grant application by the City of Frazee for the Transportation Alternatives Grant Program. They have identified work in Wanigan Park for building new trails to that facility. And we will act as their sponsor to pass those funds through to the city should they be successful in obtaining that grant.
Motion to approve 2J.
Second.
Motion by John, second by Richard to approve the Frazee TAP grant support, item 1223-2J. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jim.
Yep. All right. Steve, thank you.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, board members.
Morning, Steve.
Morning, Steve.
Peggy. I got a couple items for you today to consider. Resolution 1223-2E, that's approving the 2024 solid waste haulers licenses within the county. This would approve all of them, and then we would disperse them after they gave us evidence that they've fulfilled all the requirements of the licensing.
Okay, you have the list in front of you, and that is, do you expect any more coming
No.
late? Okay. And attachment A.
I'll make that motion to approve that.
Second.
Okay, we have motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries.
Thank you. The second item is making a couple amendments to the 2024 tip fees out at our solid waste campus. We're reducing several items, but basically the real reason we brought this forward is it's going to have a financial significance would be setting a tip fee for out-of-county mattresses. And as you're aware, we're starting to deconstruct mattresses, and other counties are interested in bringing it to us. So we got to establish a tip fee for that.
So it's clarifying, the other amounts, we reduced, the requests originally came in at much higher, and we limited what the requests were on some of those items.
Correct.
But, so the only really thing we're changing is the out-of-county mattress price, correct?
We're going to be amending appliances, reducing the rate on those from, the proposed rate was $8, which was approved earlier, down to $5.50.
We approved though maximum of 10%, so you're just
Yep.
clarifying.
Clarifying that,
what
correct.
those
Yep.
dollar amounts are.
Yep.
Move to approve.
Okay, motion and second. Any other discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, motion carries. All right, thank you.
Thanks, Steve.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, Commissioners. I just have a quick update for you, since we had an update last week as well. Tomorrow, Commissioner Okeson and Jepson and Pat and I will be meeting with Bolton and Mink to go over the survey.
At 10?
Yes,
That's what I had in my,
but it's not, I just looked, you're not an attendee.
I know, but that's, I don't know what, maybe it
You're right.
popped up, but that's what I had in my calendar, and that's why I was thinking we had that meeting tomorrow.
Kyle, I won't be there. I have the Prairie Lakes Municipal Solid Waste meeting moved up, so
Okay.
I'll be there.
So then, just the biggest check-in is that January 9th workshop. They've sent some tentative ideas to go over, mainly finalizing that vision and mission statement that we looked at probably a month and a half ago. I haven't got any further comments, so I think that is satisfactory with what we have. And then an hour and a half talking about basically the zoning ordinance update, looking at new renewable energy systems, wind and solar, feedlots, land use districts, enforcement. But essentially, sitting here today, I just want to ask you if there's anything you guys want to see on the 9th, because essentially that will kick off the beginning of that update.
Is there any talk about the VRBOs or the?
Yes, short-term rentals are on there. And I did send that to that gal that you and I were having correspondence with. I can't, Tome?
Yeah, I don't recall offhand.
She was from Trade Winds, but yes, that will be on there as well.
Okay, anyone else have anything that want to mention on that?
The only thing, and I don't know if this is with the comprehensive plan or not, that I had someone contact me about raising the height of homes.
Yes.
Would that be something that we would include here?
Yes.
Or, so that would be,
So essentially what I wanted to inform that gentleman of too, I mean, there would be major additions to our ordinance with, feedlots and things of that nature, but small things like that, we'll just highlight in the ordinance and propose.
okay,
So it'll basically just, there'll be multiple small changes.
okay.
But another big one we were looking at, and the sheriff and I have been dealing with it this fall, is nuisance sites. I think, I've been bringing with him obviously for his presence, but also some of them are a little sketchy. I think we're going to begin having to put abatements on them and clean them up ourselves. We're just not getting the response that I kind of thought we would. You did that some time ago in the past. I don't really need to say the individual's name, but I was wondering if you were a part of that process, Mr.
I
Chair.
think maybe Larry was.
I think that's,
I was not.
we have a couple that are pretty bad.
Yeah, I know I've gotten a couple phone calls, one specifically in my district that's,
You probably have the worst one.
yeah.
I mean, you do.
Mhm.
And I don't think we'll get anywhere unless
Mhm.
we take action. And through that nuisance ordinance, I did want to have a discussion, up front here. Looking at what constitutes a junkyard, obviously that one there definitely is, but indicating if somebody has two cars, that could be a junkyard.
There's a state statute on vehicles.
Yeah, but I mean, we would have, everywhere would be a junkyard then.
Mhm.
But it's unlicensed state vehicles and so the state on vehicles, it kicks in. I don't know if it extends to boats and trailers, but on vehicles, there is a state statute that how many unlicensed vehicles you can have, I
Sure.
believe, so.
Yeah, we have one, and we're getting a complaint right now on one boat in Cormorant, and it's like, there's nothing we can do there. So just tightening that up a little bit, I guess, to be able to reiterate to the public that, hey, this constitutes it and that doesn't.
Yeah, the problem with these, they lots of times get to be neighbors battling over
Mhm.
silly, especially in the smaller lots, the more critical the space is. So it's a very difficult task for zoning to enforce anything because it's.
Essentially, yes.
Did we get a final count on surveys?
No, because the last time I asked was Tuesday, and Robin is out until
Okay.
tomorrow, so she'll give us that. But I'm pretty sure they were very satisfied with what we got there.
Very good.
It should probably be pulled off the website, or I mean, the link now, because,
Sure.
and if we want to say, if, the live website is closed, but if you want to comment, please email comments to this,
Right.
email address or something.
I think we'll have her do that tomorrow, just because I want to get out the, they call them pop-ups, but we're going to be doing them throughout the county. So tomorrow we can address that. We'll get a flyer to put up on the county website.
Okay, John, you can't make the meeting tomorrow? Have you found a replacement for you? Commissioner?
Well, any of you want us.
Well, Erica, you're on are you?
Yeah, I'm there.
You're on it. Dave,
Erica's on there.
Dave, you want?
No, I can't make it.
Okay.
It's
Richard,
really just an update, right? Yeah.
you want to be there for the update? I just want to make the opportunity for others.
somebody there?
Well, yeah, you might as well if you can.
It's a virtual.
Mm-hmm.
You're able
I can
to
do it.
log on.
Get some.
More input, the better.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Kyle.
Thanks.
Okay, next is on the agenda is the evaluation of Administrator Omen. Did you want this closed?
Well, I think you need to read through this.
No, I'm asking you, you can keep it open. You want it
I
closed.
understand my rights are, yeah, but you'll have to read through this to go into closed session. And then you have to vote on it because you haven't voted to do that yet, and then I'll respond after that.
Okay. Okay. We need to ask for a motion to close the meeting pursuant to Minnesota Statute Section 13D05 Subdivision 3A. A public body may close a meeting to evaluate the performance of an individual who is subject to its authority. The public body shall identify the individual to be evaluated prior to the closing. At its next open meeting, the public body shall summarize its conclusions regarding the evaluation. A meeting must be open at the request of the individual who is the subject of the meeting. The meeting must be open at the request. Okay, so we are looking to make that in the motion form.
So move.
Motion by John, second by Richard. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, motion carries.
Yeah, and commissioners all have this meeting open.
Okay. The request is for the administrator to have an open meeting. So we are going to go into session right now for an open meeting.
I did have a separate invite for attorneys, so I'm going to ask her to step out next since it's open.
Okay, so she'll be popping up on the Teams meeting here.
Correct.
Can we mute the rest of the individuals and? Okay. Is she available now? Not yet. Who is the notary in the office? You? Can I sign this now? Okay. I haven't signed up this one here. Okay. Let me just. Oops. Hello, Ann. Can you hear us? We can't hear you right now. Still can't hear you. Can you hear us, Ann?
Yes, can you hear me now?
Now we can hear you, yes.
Okay, got it.
All right, Ann. We're here today for the administration review. Pat has chosen to have it open to the public, so we have numerous guests in the room and the press. Looking for you for a little guidance on whenever we need a, maybe for the open meeting, is there any different rules or any different comments? Everything is.
You are, you are free to conduct your evaluation however you choose. The only thing I can tell you is, under the open meeting law, there is a provision that you are permitted to discuss private data in an open meeting, even data that would normally be private. You can discuss it in a public meeting to the extent necessary to conduct your business. So you should feel free to do an evaluation and not be constrained by feeling that this is private personnel data. You can have a free and open discussion today. However, any notes or documents that you have do not, whatever you're writing down, your notes or if you've done something in preparation, filled out evaluations, those documents are not public data. So you can discuss it all publicly, but the documents that you may have, any physical paperwork or anything like that, that would not be shared publicly. Since you do not have a closed meeting, in a closed meeting, you have to do a summary of the evaluation at the next meeting. But since there is no closed meeting here, you can simply have your discussion open today.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Well, Carrie, I asked you to prepare some possible documents like we had last time. Did you, in the request to Ann, did you get anything prepared?
When I asked Ann about that, she's really
Okay. Okay, so today I think we I actually didn't have a lot prepared. I was just going to listen to the rest of the board and see what their thoughts were. In today's evaluation, Pat has done a lot of things well. There are times that I really appreciate his work on a lot of the projects. I have concern in other areas. I think everyone has their strengths and weaknesses in job performances. I think everyone in this room is no different. So I'm not sure, does anyone have a format that they want to look at or want to start with?
I could start. I'd like to say a few things about Pat. When I first became a commissioner here, I knew a lot of the employees here. because I was in and out of this courthouse, mostly for permits, but for a lot of different reasons. And I got a lot of complaints from those employees about the way this place was being run. And of course, I knew these people, and so I listened to them and I watched them, and I actually found out that a lot of the trouble was coming from just a small amount of employees just starting trouble. And nobody was doing anything about it. In fact, I witnessed where we went to punish a good employee.
Richard, just, no, I just want, don't talk, okay? Don't talk about other employees.
I'm just
We
giving,
don't.
yeah. And reward a bad employee. In the end, after an investigation, we didn't do that. But what I did see a difference is when Pat came here. And so I was getting phone calls, and so were other people, about a certain employee that person should be fired. And I didn't say whether they should or not. I just gave that information to Pat. And Pat told me, every employee that is a problem, I'm going to do my best to make them a good employee. He said, I'm going to do the best I can to make them a good employee. But he said, if I can't make them a good employee, I'm going to do my best to send that employee down the road so that they don't continue to poison the other employees. And I have watched him do that. I've watched him stand up to commissioners when commissioners were not being good to our employees. And I've watched him, he's quite a man. He's a very strong man, and he's quite a leader. I've watched him stand right up and do the right thing. And one of our former commissioners said just last week, he's one of the smartest men I know. And when asked, would you hire that man? That commissioner said, yes, I could if I could control him. And that commissioner is a tough one to please. He's a good man, but he doesn't take anything easy. And so I thought that was quite something to come from him. I've watched our employee problems here all but disappear. I heard some employees say, oh, this place is toxic. And as I got to know them, they were the toxic part. And as those toxic employees left, he knew which ones they were. It took me months to figure out which ones they were. He knew right away. He has an insight. And some of them were sweet as can be. Oh, they were nice, but they weren't doing good for us. And so at one gave a resignation, and he called that a gift. and he was right, it was a gift. And so, and we watched some of the trouble that came from that employee. So I want to say, I hate to say it, but I can't find any faults in the guy. He even scolded me last week in a meeting where I was a little out of line. I don't know everything that I should, but he did scold me in a meeting in front of everybody, and I'm going to say I needed it. And actually, he was doing it for my own good. And so he's not a wishy-washy, push-around guy. He's very business and 100% policy. And so, and he wants everybody to follow their policies. He's big on policy. This is the policy. This is the way we do it. And I want to say thank you, Pat, for making my job a lot easier. You've been very accessible. You've answered a lot of questions. A lot of you people know I run backhoes for a living. Okay, I don't know all the answers to this job, and I'm learning it as I go. He's been very good at answering those questions. He's been very good at getting back to me. Thank you, Pat Ullman. I appreciate you, and I hope we get to keep you. And that's what I got to say.
Thank you, Richard. Just a couple things. Obviously, Pat has done a lot of things well. One of the issues that he would need to improve on is the inclusionary of all commissioners. I think I have felt excluded in many cases. I've felt that documents and information are not always readily available for me or available prior to discussion. Examples would be at the TNT meeting, the final docs presented that day at the similarly to the comp study, those are given to finance the day of the finance meeting. We didn't have time to review those before. And those are the types of scenarios where it's difficult to make decisions at that meeting when you're just provided the information. So those are the things that I think are on the low end, that the inclusionary of all people on the board. And I think even if you don't agree, I think there are ways to make a better team. Obviously, we're not working as a good team right now at the board level. I think improvements could be made on the department head level, on their ongoing strategies. One time I asked for notes, and there's no notes at the department head meeting, so it's hard to track the progress of what was going. So certainly Pat has done a lot of things well. Certainly, I think, in my opinion, he could have done things a lot better in certain cases. And so that's some of my pros and cons.
I would agree as far as communication. I don't feel that the communication among all board members has been good. As a new board member, I was told that we would meet monthly, so that Pat could get to know me and what my hope is for the county. And we have only had one meeting thus far. That was in January. There's been a couple pretty significant things that have happened that when I've questioned about it, why I wasn't told or why the board wasn't told, it was blamed on either Kyle or Brian, that it was their job to notify me of it. And I don't believe that's true. I think that anytime something happens, it's not up to the department heads to relay that to the board. It really should be the administration. I've asked for documentations and I still have never received it. So I would agree as far as when it comes to communication, that could definitely improve. I also want to go talk a little bit about the employees, because I have a different view than Richard. I never worked here when Pat was an administrator here, but I do have a lot of communication, and we have to have a good relationship with our administration. And when I say administration, I mean the board and the administrator. We have to have a good relationship with them so that we can be a good functioning county. I don't think we have that right now, as evidenced by what you look at our budget and what we have spent the last 2 years on legal services and human resources. We can't continue to go down that route where, previously we've spent $10,000 a year, and we're between the 2 years over 100,000 spent on legal services.
Just under 70,000 last year, just under 60,000 this year so far.
How is this his fault?
Because it's a direct relation to the relationship with the employees. That's what I'm saying, and that's what we need to improve. And we have to have a good relationship with our unions. We don't have a good relationship with our unions.
Our union is terrible.
I would disagree,
All right,
Richard.
now let's go one person at a time, please.
But we have to have a good relationship with the unions. Again, as evidenced by a recent email from one of our union reps, which I don't like. I was not happy with the email. But part of the issue with our class and comp study was we had to hurry up and release it to the employees because of that bad relationship that we have with the employees. And we have to do better for our employees, because employee retention saves us money. If we continue to have a revolving door of employees, it costs us money. And that is having a good administrator that can help with a good functioning board is imperative to keeping employees. And that's where we're struggling right now.
I got it. Go ahead, John. Go ahead.
in evaluation, I look at the person that's in that job. And is the county better or worse since this person's been on board for a couple of years? And I think Becker County overall, there's issues here and there, is a better place right now than I've been here going on 14 years as commissioner. Prior to that, I had 43 years working with the county, and I've grown with the issues. But since Pat has been here, we've advanced on our policies, updates, which hadn't been done for years. We're starting exit interviews that were never done with employees that are leaving. We started employee reviews that years ago we were doing them, but under the past administrations that we've had prior to Pat, nobody did them. One of the big things we come in compliance with is our IT department to get our security upgrades done, which wasn't getting done. And I think, Erica, you mentioned communication. To me, that's a two-way street. A lot of times you have to reach out to get a little communication. Don't wait for the person to give you everything. And as far as getting some of the stuff before meetings, I agree. But Pat's not the first one that was lax in that. We've had past administrators that were a little lax on getting us the information right prior to the meeting. So that's something I think we can build on and improving. And you're not going to make every employee happy. We got to look at the big picture of the county and all the employees and kind of do it as a whole. Same with negotiations. I've been in negotiation now for several years, and it doesn't get easy with a couple of these reps. First thing, they start threatening you, and we're in there to discuss and try to come to a mutual understanding. So I think overall, Pat has done Becker County a real good job. Granted, I haven't agreed with them 100%. We go in and we talk it out. And I said a couple times, we got to go a little different direction on these issues. And he looks at it, and most of the time he agreed. So I know might have a few things later.
Okay.
Well, I have a few comments. I'd like to start out with, I've been in meetings with Pat, and the one thing that I say that is one of his extreme strengths is that he's very knowledgeable on Minnesota state statutes, Minnesota government, and I appreciate that. As a new commissioner, when I came in, I had a meeting with Pat in January. He said, well, yeah, I want to meet with you every month because I want to talk to you about things. I want to know what you think and what do you think. We haven't had a meeting since January. And that is very upsetting to me. The communication to me is, he told me that he wanted to inform the board, and I don't believe that he informs the board. He might inform some of the board, but I don't know, but it doesn't inform me. And there are some big things that happened in our county before we came in and when we came in that we didn't know about because we were not informed from our administrator. And I think that's his job. And that to me is not okay. I believe that the number one job of our county administrator is to inform the board so that we know what's going on so we can make informed, sound decisions. And that's important to me because I take pride in myself in making sure I research and study everything so that I can make a good decision. And I think when I ran for this position, I explicitly said that I want to be informed so that I can make those wise decisions and not make a bad decision. So that's probably my biggest concern. Also, the class and comp study has been a big issue. We had to have that turned out right away because of the bad relationship that we do have. And I'm not saying it's just Pat. Our administration, we have a bad relationship with our union, our unions. Some of them we have a good relationship, some we don't. John and I are in the negotiating team, and we can attest that sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad. But in order for us to function as a well-running county, we have to have a relationship. And we can't get anything done, and we can't get any buy-in by employees. They can't believe that we're gonna do things right for Becker County unless we have that relationship. And right now we don't. And I've been here for an entire year, and I have not seen it get any better. And I have not seen a lot of the communication get any better. And I don't know what the answer to that problem is, except better communication and better relationships with our employees and our bargaining units. I've seen, when I first came on, we had a new commissioner meeting in January. And I came in here green behind the ears, and I was put on the I was put on the negotiating team with John on the negotiating committee with Carrie and Pat, and I had a new commissioner meeting that I was leaving on a Wednesday, and I had requested from Pat that get the schedule for the negotiating times. When are we negotiating? Because I need to get my job lined up. I need to get everything figured out. He called me Tuesday morning before I was going to leave and told me that, oh, there's negotiations Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. I know you're going to be gone, but we got to get these done. Okay, fine. I understand. You know, that it's brand new. You know, there was a little miscommunication there or whatever. Found out later that John was not there also. And we also had an unauthorized offer made to the unions, an unauthorized board offer. And both of our reactions were, well, was this in the budget? And so you can respond, whatever, but that upsets me too. I don't think that's okay for an administrator to make an offer or to do things that are huge like that without the explicit consent of the county board.
My question is for both of you guys, because you said you don't have meetings with him. I know he reached out to you and asked for that. Did you ask him for meetings? Because every time I asked for a meeting, has he turned you down for meetings?
No.
Dave, has he turned you down for meeting? So you don't reach out to him either. I'm going to tell you, I seen this from the very beginning. Very coerced. Both of you guys broke the open meeting law, put himself in the chair. No, this is what happened. And there's been an investigation on this. Barry's been telling everybody all year he's got 3 votes. I've got 3 votes to get rid of Pat. Pat's been waiting to get fired. The man has done an excellent job. Our county attorney and Barry walked into his office and told him that the board wants to go a different direction. Would you like to resign, or I'm going to give you a week and you can let us know? That's what he told him. So he's been getting kicked in the rear. He's been working his butt off, and you guys have been kicking him in the rear end the whole time. And I'm just going to tell you, it's coming, because now you've irritated the wrong people. They're tired of watching this place go like it is. I'm going to show you something right here that I have. It's a letter to one of our employees, okay? It's a letter of directive, and it was very, very nasty letter.
Can I share it?
Well, it's got your name on it, Barry.
Yeah.
Okay.
Do you want to share it?
Yeah, send it. The employee is very worried. He didn't want this letter out because he's very worried about the way he's been treated here. But when a commissioner gets involved with our employees and starts to punish them, I want to tell you that this is the letter we're talking about. After the investigation, they found out that this employee wasn't wrong. I want to answer one more thing before I forget about your union. They went to our newspaper, man, and gave him all the wrong numbers. They told him 50 people quit since he came. It was 25. It seems that we can just go. How do you expect to have a good relationship with that guy down there? Our sheriff had to escort him out of the building, didn't you, Sheriff? The Teamster. Yes? Yeah, okay, whatever. Yeah. So how do you have a good relationship with a guy like that? He gave our employees bad direction over at Human Services and got them into trouble. Go ahead, send this down
Is
here.
is this a letter that can be publicly viewed now?
No, you guys
No.
can look at it. You can.
Anne has a,
And tell me you
No,
want.
dude, that letter is, do not release that. That should not be discussed in this meeting.
The
If
employee
it's
gave
not-
me permission to do it.
Well,
Yeah.
he'd have to do it in writing, and we don't have that
Okay.
here.
Well, I have it here just so everybody knows. I have a letter where this man went ahead and tried to punish that employee. I did get involved and told him, if you put that letter in that employee's file, I will pay for his attorney to sue the county, because that was illegal, and there's a lot of illegal stuff going on here. And the problem is, you've left your fingerprints all over it. There's a trail for you to follow. And when these people get done with this investigation, there's going to be some answers here. To sit here and just say things that aren't true doesn't work. It's like I said, they've been threatening to fire this man for a year. You have, Barry. And the problem is, if you're going to break the open meeting law, do it with somebody that doesn't tell everybody.
well, it's getting to be an attack on myself.
Well, you're
this
the
is-
guy that's been starting all the trouble.
Well,
You told us you
everyone-
want to work with us after you stole the chair. Barry, if you steal my motorcycle and I see you riding it by, doesn't make it yours. When the sheriff catches you on it and gives it back to me, and that's what's going to happen. But, you break the law and steal something, it's coming for you. And I didn't want it to go to this. I was hoping that we would just straighten up and just follow the rules and have our own opinions and just follow the rules and do the right thing for the county. But when you work against this man, when you complain you can't have a meeting but you don't ask for one, wow, he gives me all kinds of meetings. He's so helpful.
Yeah.
But I ask him for them. So
I think, a lot of, you gotta evaluate, forget about your personal feelings about the individual. Is he doing his job? And I agree he has. Granted, there's some things he needs to probably work on, better communication, but again, that's a two-way street. Reach out. If I got an issue, I go in and talk to him. Mary, how many times have you been in to talk to him this past year?
I don't believe,
It's-
I'm not comfortable in the office because of past
Because of a
issues.
personal issue.
No, that's
you
not
created,
personal.
So,
That's not a personal issue I created. It's an issue that happened that,
that
do
you
we want to,
kinda got
do we want to get
involved.
into that issue?
I'd like to.
That you
I
don't get
offered,
involved in.
I offered to resolve it. I offered these two a lie detector
And do we have,
tests.
can we get into that issue?
I would suggest that you stick to what is in Pat's, either his job description and the statutory duties and how he's performing those issues, rather than things that have been addressed in the past.
Okay.
Rather than rehashing things
Okay,
that are.
and again, Pat is an at-will employee at the county. There's no one saying that he's done everything bad. There's nobody saying here that he's done everything right. Well, Richard maybe insinuated that.
He's not
everything's-
perfect, but he's got a good heart and he cares about our employees and our county. I've seen it. But I go and see him all the time because I need him. I don't expect him to come and see me. The man works 7 days a week. When I called down to Mille Lacs County, there was a commissioner that complained about him. So before we hired him, I called down there and I said, what was your complaint? It's that he's leaving. He said he works 7 days a week. He loved him. That was his complaint. I didn't understand that. I talked to the man for a half an hour. He loved the guy. So I asked Pat, why did you leave Malacca County? Because there was all kinds of rumors, nasty rumors. He said, well, I told the board, when my grandmother lives here, when she dies, I'm leaving. And that's why he left Malacca County. And so, but if you really want to know things in this job, sometimes you have to reach out, learn things, talk to him. If you put everything on him, it's like I said, he works 7 days a week. I call him all the time.
And Richard, I did say that I have asked for things.
Yeah, I'm talking about meetings and relationship and communication, Erica. Are you telling me you're trying to communicate and he won't communicate back?
I've asked for items and I have not received them.
Oh, well, I'm not sure what those are. I have not had that problem, but.
You know, that another issue or a shortcoming, in my opinion, of Pat is that when he is incorrect, that there's no acknowledgement. An example would be when he stated in, I think, finance numerous times there that it's illegal, he referenced a Minnesota statute that elected officials get longevity. I'm sure you recall that, John, that it was numerous times that has come up, and it wasn't until negotiations were over, he stated that again, and then we found out, our attorney pointed out that is allowable, that this minimum is set and does not need to include longevity. So he referenced something, it was incorrect, and it's just, so we have questions whether when things are referenced, are they accurate or not? I mean, and that was a case where it was not accurate, and there was nothing. Then it just became, yeah, that's acceptable. So
I also want to go off of that too in regards to our moratorium that we all believed that we had, and I believed we had when I came on board, and then when things became in question and I questioned it, I was given an email from a zoning attorney that Pat was involved with, where it clearly stated we do not have a moratorium. And this email, I believe, was dated in November of 2022. So it was known by our administrator that we did not have a moratorium, but that was never communicated to the board. And that was when I questioned it at the board. Pat still would not admit that we didn't have a moratorium, despite a zoning attorney telling us that nothing that we did to get the moratorium followed the rules. So that's another example of needing to be able to trust what our administrator says, so that I know that I'm able to make the right decisions.
Part of that, at that time, I knew it wasn't a legal moratorium because I'd done my research on how to go about putting a moratorium in place, and we did not follow the right procedure.
And he told me that it wasn't legal, but we do have one. That's what he said.
Well,
it was really gray is what it was.
And again, it was not legal, but we were not the board's not informed that.
So
my
whole point is, that's fine, it's not legal, but I didn't know. Nobody told me. Our administrator is supposed to inform us that it's not legal. He didn't. So I thought it was legal.
I think he informed an individual on the copy shop of what we heard, that went and had a long conversation that telling him that the commissioners don't know that this isn't legal. So that's difficult when you're a commissioner and someone from the public tells you that they had a conversation telling us that what we did was not illegal. Was not legal. There was a lot in that feedlot.
Part of it with that moratorium, so-called moratorium, all of a sudden it wasn't on the agenda, and all of a sudden we're voting on a moratorium.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
There you go.
Again, we could have been corrected if we would have been notified at that time. We should have been corrected.
Or at the very least, once you knew from the zoning attorney afterwards, it should have brought forward appropriately to determine, which we did do, in the spring, which, then it was the decision of the board to not have one. But the point is that when the board believes we do, and the administrator knows we don't, that's when there can become an issue, especially when you have new commissioners that came on board that
think you have a moratorium, that you don't.
And then it came back to us before because it wanted to be something added to it, and it was on the agenda, but there was no verb in front of it, so we weren't supposed to act on it when we questioned that because it was not notified. So we didn't act on it because people weren't notified that lived by it. So there was another miscommunication.
All this while we're threatening to fire him on a monthly basis.
I don't know where these monthly threats of firing
Well,
came from, Richard.
Oh, well, they all come from right here, and the problem is that he actually said them to people who are going to testify that he did. So what I'm telling you is all true. And those people, some of them are here, and I'm going to tell you, that's where I got it, Erica. Okay, so and it's been a constant threat to take his job. And it started when you two both came in. And Dave, I told you that right away, that this whole thing to pull him out of the chair, which was really sad, was all based on firing a man that's working hard for us. And you guys are nitpicking on little things. You talk about employees. This man, I've watched him. How'd you like to go back to him punishing our employees? That's where we're going. You get rid of him. He's standing between him and the employees right now. You get rid of him, it goes back to him punishing them. And I have watched it, I've seen it, and we have evidence of it, and it's all gonna come out. It's not because there's people in this room that have had enough of it. And so, and I really didn't want it to go that way. So here's what I'm gonna tell you guys. Before you do something too serious, wait and see what the investigation brings. Because what I'm saying is the truth, and I'll take that lie detector test. I think we should have one right there. And everybody should just go down there, and that way we don't fill anybody full of beans. But it's coming. You guys have done this, and if somebody's lying here, period, okay? And you can tell me that you three have never talked about firing him. You can go ahead and say that. That's not what the evidence is going to show. Somebody's lying. And so, like I told you, if you're going to make a pact with somebody, make sure they ain't talking, because there is quite a trail. And this man has done a heck of a job faced with that every day, waiting to be fired. That's, you know, you guys talk about employees, but what about this employee? What about, where's your feelings for him? Wow, I feel so bad for him. But you know what? He's tough. He might be hiding some of it, but we've treated him, this board has treated him worse than anything. And Ann, he came to you with a complaint. And I want to know why you didn't do much of an investigation on that complaint, because you never talked to me. John, did she ask you about it? No. She didn't ask Larry. And how did you come that there was nothing to that complaint? How did that come out, Ann? I'm glad you're here, because you have to answer that for me.
Well, you want me to just, we're here on the evaluation, but as far as a complaint is concerned, I did interview the people who are witnesses to the incident, the actual witnesses to the incident, not people who were, I don't believe you were a witness to the incident.
Oh, absolutely, that was not right there. I'm going to tell you how it went. Barry was mad. Larry called me and said, "You better get in there because he's mad." That's what Larry said, and I said, "Larry, I'm working. I can't go." Well, it's not going to be good. He went to Amy Risman, chewed her out, then went in there and told him, "You either do what I say or I'm going to make your life a living hell." And he's kept to that promise. He's badmouthed him to other counties. He's badmouthed him to other commissioners. There's all witnesses for this, and this is the problem there is. And actually, we've had meetings with other commissioners over this whole investigation. So, Ann, I think that you didn't do it. You should have asked me about it, okay? You should have asked Larry. You should have asked John. I don't know how you concluded that. I went between both of these guys. Barry complained about it. I said, "Well, Barry, if Pat's lying, let's get a lie detector test. I'll pay for it, and let's do it. And if he's lying, let's fire him. I'll fire him if he's lying." But you know what Barry told me? He probably believes his own lies, and he walked away. He told me he would love to take the test. Now, that's what he said. I would love to take the test. And he told me more than once. I feel as commissioners, I failed him in that investigation. I wish I'd have been a better commissioner, and I'd love to be a better commissioner. I'm trying very hard to be a better commissioner, but I know in that instance, I would have done more, and I should have done more, because he was following policy. He was not gonna let one commissioner get involved with the employees. We don't belong there. And then that employee turned out to do damage to us in the end. And John knows it, and so does Larry. That employee, yeah. So he was right again, like usual. And yeah, it's pretty sad. I don't know why we just can't follow policy and he's the chief administrator. Let him do his job. You know, if you want communication, reach out. And if he doesn't come back, then complain. But don't complain if you were waiting for a phone call. He's very accessible, but you have to do your part.
Well, and I don't know if you have any response to those, to those questions.
My response is that there was a specific allegation. There were two people and somebody else in another room that were actually a witness to the allegation. And we reached a conclusion based on what the two people were saying. There was specific allegations, and it was against you, Barry, about something that you were alleged to have said. And I'm not, that is an allegation against a board member about what a board member said. I don't see what that has much to do with Pat's performance evaluation. I'm going to actually respond to another thing here. It is illegal under Minnesota law for an employer to conduct perform a polygraph on an employee for in the employment context. So
it was
in
free
response
will,
to
Ann.
the, I'm sorry, what?
It was all free will. It was just offered. Would you take one? I never told him he needed to take one. So and it was all just a handshake deal where we just be man up to what we said. So
Yeah, I just
he can take one anytime he wants.
Yeah, you cannot request, directly or indirectly solicit or require. So you can't do that under Minnesota law.
Right.
As an employer, just so you are aware of that.
Yeah, I know that.
Okay, anyone else have any comments?
Just a comment Dave made on negotiations and short notice on negotiation meetings. We could have those set in advance, and all of a sudden they call and they want to meet, or they change, they drop it. I've had meetings scheduled where the union is called and said, no, we're not meeting. So again, it's a two-way street on their part. And part of the negotiations during that time, we were holding to a lot lower number for an increase or annual increase. So it leaked out that we had so much budgeted for it, so it took our bargaining power away. So it's not all.
Did we approve it prior to the
administrator's
offer?
Fault here.
Well, I'm sorry, I'll let you talk to it. My fault.
So
I apologize.
In that case, the preliminary that was budgeted for was how much? 2.5%, 3%?
Keep going.
Our budgeted 4%? What did we end up spending on that? 7 to 10%. The 7 to 10% was not
The
budgeted
individual
for.
was, yes. And we were probably down in that 2.5 and a step till that.
So you're telling me that the unions would have settled for the 4%, and then, but you gave them 7 to 10%.
Well, he told us, he told me, we're way behind. And when this wage study comes in, when this class and comp study comes in, we're going to look really bad if we don't raise this up. And it was his forward thinking that got us to where we are today, and now we're where we're supposed to be according to the study.
So he told you we were way behind. Did he ask for your permission to offer the drop a step, add a step?
He did not.
That's my issue. Not that we gave a fair
The
deal.
board was not.
Did we do the wrong thing,
the-
Dave?
It doesn't matter.
The board was not included and didn't
Well, that's
authorize
what
any
you do it
discussion.
all the time, Barry. What are you talking about?
In past,
Board approval, you don't even know what that is. My gosh.
in past closed sessions with the board, negotiation committee, including the administrators, have always asked for guidance on what, but a lot of times we can't get a yay or nay from them. And I've been on the negotiation committee for years.
From the unions, me?
Pardon?
From the unions, you don't get?
From the board. How much is our max here? Never once. So we're in negotiations. We're trying to get something settled, and it's a good thing we probably did that foreign step, or else with this comp study, we'd be biting.
We would be
instead of
way
a
behind.
5.9% increase, we're gonna be up there probably well over 10.
Yeah. So we're scolding him for doing the right thing.
So you admit that he didn't have authority to do that, to offer that drop a step up? Is that what you're saying?
I don't know that he did or didn't, Barry. I'm going to tell you that honestly, I don't know. I know he talked to me about where we were at, where our wages are at, and that we had agreed to do this study, and that when the study comes, if we don't give them something, if we don't get them up there, we're going to be way off. Now, the study came, and we're very close. It was just him looking out for our employees again, okay? That's who he was looking out for. So.
Again, I'm not debating whether the pay was.
If you're going to go board approval, Barry, you better learn that term and then work on it yourself.
What I'm saying is that it did not go before the board, and it wasn't inclusionary to discuss with wasn't included the full board. I mean, so.
You do it all the time, so I don't know. I wouldn't say anything, and you continue to do it.
It's nice to throw, when we're talking about Pat's evaluation, you're throwing me under the bus every chance you get.
Because you're sitting here bad-mouthing somebody
I'm
that's
telling
been
you,
working very hard, and you've been working. We pay him a lot of money. You've been working against him ever since he wouldn't do what you told him to.
I thought our relationship was very well. I thought Pat was very professional in our relationships in finance.
Professional.
And I thought my
for the way you
John,
treated him.
Do you feel that the relationships were fine during finance, so there was never any hostile?
Sure, finance, they're fine.
How are they out in the community where we're hearing I got 3 votes to get rid of it?
Well,
how is that? That's you switch back and forth from a really nice guy to.
I think it also goes back
something
to, I was told prior to me becoming a commissioner that by Pat that he only needs 3 votes.
Yeah, he made that joke all the time. It's a joke, Erica.
He made that joke all the time. It's not a joke when it's in this boardroom.
Yeah, well, you know what? You do things without votes all the time, so, and you're breaking the law all the time, so I don't know what you're thinking here. But like I said, that's gonna all come out, so.
Well, Ann, do you have any guidance on what our next step is?
It's entirely up to you. You're doing the performance evaluation. It seems to me, you have obviously, I think it's obvious, that this board is split on its opinion of the administrator. You have to decide what you want to do going forward. Is it, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to, do we make decisions today whether we want to, continue employment or not?
You could do that. You can take a break and wait until after your January meeting and make a decision at that time. Let things settle down here. You can make a decision today. We are at the holiday season. You may want to take a break until after the first of the year and make a decision in January. That is entirely up to you. Since we are not in a closed meeting, you do not have to summarize this evaluation. And you can just pause and come back another day if that lets things settle down and lets everybody have a chance to consider everyone else's opinion. You can certainly do that. There's no specific requirement.
Okay. So once we decide that, is there any action for for, does Pat have any right to rebuttal at this, at any of this, or is he, do we just move on whichever way?
So because we are not in a closed meeting and there's no, the only thing about performance evaluations are in a closed meeting, you have to do a summary of the evaluation, which has to be provided at the next open meeting. Because we are not in that situation, there are no specific requirements unless there's something in your specific policy, which I'm not aware of.
Okay, so we have,
If you do have a written evaluation, Pat has the right to submit a written rebuttal to any facts that are in the evaluation. I don't know whether you're creating a written document right now or not, but if you're not creating a written document, that's going in a official record. But if you're creating a written document, Pat does under the open meeting or under the Data Practices Act have a right to submit a written rebuttal to any facts that are in there, not opinions, but facts that are in an evaluation. He'd have a right to do that.
okay, I don't know that we are having any written documentation at this time for a written decision. So anyone have any comments to that?
I do. If you guys are gonna make a decision today, you might want to wait until the investigation is over. That's what I'm gonna tell
I'm not
you.
worried about an investigation, Richard.
Okay, so you don't care about facts? Because I asked you this one time
I'm confident
before.
that I haven't done
No, I
anything
asked you
wrong.
this one time before, Erica, because I said, I have the truth. Would you like it? And you said, I already have the truth, Richard. And I said, but I have proof.
You and I have never had that conversation.
We had it right
Richard.
here. We were all here. And I said, but I have proof. And that's what I said. And you said, I don't need proof. I have the truth. And that's what you said. And all I'm saying is, do you want the truth? Do you want, when this investigation, or do you want to go ahead and jump ahead and fire a good man without an investigation?
What I'm saying is I'm not worried about an investigation for myself.
I'm not talking about
I have
that.
done nothing wrong.
I'm not talking about I'm talking about what the investigation brings out on him. That's what I'm talking about. And this whole board, the way things are you interested in just firing him without that? Because they're gonna redo this investigation. We can go back and look at where Ann was and relook at that and interview the right people. And so that's what I'm saying here. Are you interested in the treatment of this man? He's one of our employees, or do you just want to fire him?
I don't understand, first of all, what investigation you're
Well, there's an investigation
because
into the whole
We're
thing.
talking about a lot of investigations.
Yes, we
here.
are. It
And I'm
starts.
not sure which one you're talking about.
Well, it starts at the beginning of the year with putting him in the chair and breaking that open meeting law, and it goes on through the whole thing, through the whole year up until now. And he's got quite a trail of stuff that's there. And so what I want to know is, are you interested in how this man was treated, or do you just want to fire him?
I'm not interested in.
You know, it's.
I don't know how to answer that. I'm not interested in firing him.
Here's how I would answer that. I'd say, well, is there something I don't know? If there is something I don't know, I would really like to know if this man has been mistreated. I would like to make sure.
I think you need to take yourself off the pedestal, Richard, because I don't think you're just perfect here.
Oh, no, I am perfect, Gary. Everybody knows that. They all know I'm perfect. But here's the deal, okay? He's not got fair treatment. Do you want to give him fair treatment or not? There's a group that is
I'm not
doing
prepared to vote on anything today, if that's what you're wondering.
Okay, there you go. That's what I want to know if we're gonna, and so that's all I want to know is, do we want to know all the facts? Does the board want to know all the facts and get into this and really treat the man right? Or do we just want to shove him down the road? And so that's what I want to know. I want everything to come out and get done right, because we're not doing it right here.
I feel like I'd like to comment more, but I just, I think there's a lot of innuendos against myself, obviously, and the board. And I would like to get into those, but I don't think that's in the best interest of this board or
Or you won't have to, it'll be gotten into,
Okay,
so.
well,
It'll all come to light.
hearsay and
Yeah.
slander are very, very difficult to.
There you go.
To,
We're
move
gonna
forward.
find out there was a lot of that.
I'd just like to comment here that the board's decision should be based on, I mean, about performance. If the board is making a decision, it should be based on the performance of the administrator. If this is the person, Pat is an at-will employee. He has a contract that states that he can be terminated at will, and then that he would be paid out 3 months severance if you terminate him. How, I understand Richard has issues regarding who was elected chair last year. There is no law about who is and isn't elected chair, so there's nothing illegal about.
It's how we got to that point, Ann.
Yeah.
It's the breaking the open meeting law, that's where that comes in.
And again, that has nothing to do with Pat's
Well,
performance.
here's
or
what it
performance
does have to
evaluation.
do with. It has to.
Excuse me,
Yeah,
I'm not
okay,
gonna
that's
get
right.
into
Go
that
ahead.
right now. The issue of Pat's performance and the board's decision really would have nothing to do with the open meeting law. This is the board's decision about who it wants to have as an administrator. Those two issues appear to be separate issues. So if there is some sort of issue, again, those are separate issues. I don't know anything about any open meeting law issue. However, I do want to just say generally for the board, those have nothing to do with an allegation against the county. It would be issues regarding specific board members rather than it would have no impact on anyone's personal employment. That's open meeting law violations are against the individual board members, not against the county and not against any employee of the county. That's how the law works under that. That's my only comment there. So any decision regarding anyone's employment should be based on their own, that employee's performance in their job, whether that be a clerk or a snowplow driver or the county administrator. Those decisions should be made on that individual, not somebody else's conduct.
Right.
Thank you.
But if they were influenced by a certain person, and that's what I'm getting at. And so, and it may not have anything to do with that, but it may have something to do with their reelection. So.
No, you cannot, please. One comment that I would like to make is the boards working together about the board's conduct or the board's. I mean, we're so fractured right now. And I think this is part of the problem that we're fractured.
Absolutely, absolutely.
And I think Pat is part of the problem how we're fractured.
Yeah, because he didn't do what you told him to do, and you've been making his life hell ever since, and that's what I'm getting at.
I have always accepted defeat. If I don't get my way, I might get upset about it, but at this board level, I've respected decisions and moved forward. And I might have not acted the best at times, just like the rest of us, but I have always respected this board and this county in the decisions that this board makes. And I would ask that you do the same. If this board chooses to move in a different direction, that you get behind those decisions.
Well,
I think I got behind, I can bring an example just recently but I'm not going to do that. I don't want to throw you under the bus just because.
You're the one going to get run over if you bring that one up. So
again, we all have skeletons. We're not all perfect. There's no question.
Your skeletons, not mine.
No, you have plenty of skeletons. I'll tell you that. So what I'm saying is this meeting here is a perfect example. Obviously, it was known to many that this was going to be an open meeting. The board chair and I don't know how many commissioners knew it, but it appears that this was known that this was going to be an open meeting, not by myself.
I didn't know it till he said it. And I've
The
asked
other
him
thing
20
is,
times.
with that, the concern about having a labor attorney here is online to help us navigate these times is very worrisome to me. Why we wouldn't want an attorney here. I'm thankful that we made that motion to move forward with an attorney present so we can get the right way to move forward. Right for the county, right for Pat. Now, if the wishes of the board are not to vote today, that's their decision, our decision. That would require we require a motion, Ann, or we just require a motion to put it on our next agenda?
If somebody wants to move to take, it's just like anything else. Somebody needs to make a motion and a second to take any action. So if somebody wants to move to take some type of action today, you entertain a motion to do either, just like anything else.
Okay, so the motion would be to put it on our agenda at our January meeting to whether employment, considering employment.
Correct. Including salary, any of that, correct. I
Okay,
don't believe, I've seen Pat's original letter, so I think you would set salary and so forth.
I think his salary is set already for next year, Pat, is that correct?
I'm part of the table like everyone else, every other.
So that would be set already, I believe.
I'd make a motion to move this to our January meeting.
I'll second that.
Which date?
Can we do it on the first?
Or second?
Or the
First
second,
meeting?
the first meeting, I
Yeah.
mean?
Do we have a lot already on the second?
You have an organizational meeting.
Yeah.
And then after that, you can slide into a business meeting. You've done that in previous years.
Okay,
That last year.
we have, John, you made a motion? And that,
Richard.
is there, and you
Richard
you second?
I did.
And that is to, how would that, what the wordage to table any decisions to the January,
Correct.
is it 3rd?
January 2nd.
Second
meeting.
January 2nd.
Okay, and what, we don't need times, we'll figure it in at that. Okay, any other discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, thank you, Ann.
Thanks, Ann.
I would also like to have, when we get the time set, I would like to have Ann available. If the board wants to make a motion to authorize Ann available at that time.
I would make a motion to have Ann available at that time.
I'll second.
Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Ann. Thank you for
All
your
right.
guidance.
Have a happy holiday, everyone.
Yep.
You too.
Thanks, Ann.
Adjourn.
Anything else brought before us?
I have nothing else.
Okay. We are adjourned. Thank you. Thank you for those in attendance for your